We don't play the social game. We are social. Power 98.5.
Hey everybody, this is Nick Mayhew, 3-time gold medalist and 3-time world record holder, and you're listening to Power 98.5.
You're listening to Power 98.5, powered by United Angels Dream, your #1 resource for public relations, entertainment, and multimedia. Contact them today at unitedangelsdream.com.
Hi, this is Dan Aykroyd. He's progressive. He's beautiful. He's thoughtful. He's intelligent. He's powerful. He's positive. He is Stephen Cuoco on Power 98.5 Satellite Radio.
Empowering listeners from the US to the UK. Live on air with Stephen Cuoco.
How did you like that? Boom. I don't know why it hit me like that, but I was like, boom. I was like, Sean, I said, do something to surprise me today. And we've got Robert Michael with us today. And he knows that there's certain guests, I have certain music that I like to have an intro for. And then when I think about actors and models and producers and directors, I like this music. I want to feel like I'm in a studio. So this is my studio, what I call my studio music, my lounge studio music. And I said, do something to surprise me. And he gave a punch to, what was it? Bad Country? I use that music sometimes as well. And I was like, all right, hit me with something, throw me off, put me off guard. And let's start out something different today. You know, a different vibe, a different energy. And that worked out perfectly. I was like, wait a minute, what about my lounge music? You guys who listen to the show often know this, that the music changes up all the time. I'm not about keeping it mundane. I've been closing out the show without music. I've been doing that lately. Have you guys been noticing that? Go head on over to power985.com on our website. Also, if you don't have the app, download the iOS or Android app. You can listen to it on Alexa. But the beautiful thing when you're listening to it on the app and or the website, you get to click that bottom right hand, that icon in the bottom right hand corner. You can send us an instant message and we'll all get it. And it's used quite often. I appreciate it. That is the best feature. It is my favorite feature for Power 98.5 is that messenger in the bottom right-hand corner. Do we have it set up just in case if we got any questions or any comments or any shout-outs at all today? Let me head on over. Did you guys saw that, right? Perfect. Thank you. Connie, good morning. Yes, we've got Robert Michael with us today. We're going to be talking about and discussing his new film, Oblivious. Big shout out to Marcos Papadatos. He's my family, my friend. I appreciate him greatly, and thank you for setting this up. We're going to talk about and highlight all the best and the latest and the greatest, not only what's happening in Robert's life and what he's doing, his new film, talking about topic points if he wants to share about the writer's strike. But this film is to make you think. This is what he quoted. This film is meant to make you think maybe about a relative you know that you can help, or maybe about your own struggles. I want the audience to remember that life can be scary, but that fear is often more deadly than any disease or illness we may face. It can lead us to do things we may regret, or, in extreme cases, things that we cannot come back from. Learn to take life in strides, take in the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. In the film, Willow said it best. Embrace everything you're feeling, breathe it in, and then breathe it out. Robert, welcome to Power 98.5 Satellite Radio, live on air with Stephen Cuoco.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be with you guys today.
I appreciate these these remarks, these thoughts that are being shared about Oblivious? Give us, go. I was just about to ask you, give us, what is the meat and potatoes of this film?
So when I was creating this film, I was looking around the world and just realizing how much pain is in the world, and a lot of that comes down to fear. And I had made a short film a couple of years ago with a similar topic. It was called By the Grace of God. And I always wanted to make a feature, but especially now looking at some personal stuff going on with my own life and with my family, aging grandparents and having a lot of friends that are going through some health conditions. I wanted to make a movie about the one thing that united all of that, which was fear, about how sometimes we can get in our head and we can stress about things, and the fear can often make things worse, as opposed to just taking it in, allowing yourself to, get through what you have to go through. So the meat and potatoes is really just about learning to accept what you can't control and how do you get through it in a peaceful way. And that applies to so many different people and so many different types of struggles. And I wanted to do something real. I wanted to do something that people can resonate with, not just another, Hollywood movie about something done 500 times. I wanted some original story that people can relate to, even if the subject matter, the direct plot doesn't apply to them. The meaning and the symbolism in the film can apply to everyone.
The movie stars you, Robert Michael, Naomi Grossman, Vanessa Lauren Gamble, Daniel Hall, and Nikki Blonsky.
Yeah, and I have an amazing cast. I've been a fan of Naomi's since I started watching American Horror Story. It was my number one, still is, favorite TV series of all time. And a lot of people, there's another woman, Leslie Grossman, who's in it. But Naomi Grossman, she was the AHS's first ever crossover character. She played Pepper. You saw her at the very beginning of Asylum. Then she came back at the end of that season. Then they brought her back for Freak Show. She had her entire story arc. She came back for Apocalypse. And there's something about her that's whimsical and warm and loving. And that's exactly what I needed for my character, Willow. Instantly, she was excited to do it. She was amazing to work with on set. So I'm so fortunate to have her. Daniel, people know him from The Young and the Restless. He played Scott Granger on that show. I got to know him through soap operas. And he was excited to be part of it. And then Nikki, people probably recognize her from Hairspray, played Tracy Turnblad, but she has such a beautifully warm, welcoming voice. And I have my character, which is a narrator. And she does wonderful at that. So the cast we have assembled is fantastic. And just like with any film, it's only as good as what people bring to it. And it's a community effort. So the fact that I have this amazing cast just makes the movie that much better.
The next time you have a sterling project such like this, and I'm being very, very honest with you, I've been letting every producer, writer, director from every network, over 30 years of connections. And now I'm planting a seed with you because I highly respect you. You and I've had really good conversation. I feel connected to you. I'm not expecting it, but I want to get back in front of the camera. I want to get back into TV, back into film, back into all of that. So I would be honored, providing it's ever meant to be working alongside with you, and then adding the PR, the media, all of this that most people don't have of an opportunity. And I will do it for free, the PR part of this. I'm in any project. I will help take it to the next level, not only on film, but through everything else. And just to let you know, seriously, because I watched the trailer and I'm like,
let's do it. Let's do it. I'm all about working with good people. I think that especially in today's world, there's a lot of people that I think take things for granted, or, it tends to be, it falls in line with, unfortunately the industry, but I'm all for genuine people. And I definitely get a vibe from you, and let's get you on camera. Let's do some stuff. Seriously. I'm all for it.
When I watched the trailer, and I'm going to be honest, this is true. I envisioned myself in this. I felt the music, the cinematography. It is extremely well done. Extremely well done. And I was excited but also I felt proud for you, honestly, Robert, of what an incredible project and opportunity, because it really is multidimensional. I don't mean that just specifically and literally, but energetically, it's extremely multidimensional.
Yeah, and I look at that and every time you make a project, there's so much work that gets involved. And when you're finally able to see the finished result, be that a trailer, whether it is even like a little promotion, or you see an article, or you just see the full film, you get to have that kind of out of body experience. Like, wow, I created this. And when I think about this, like most films, you're in pre-production for sometimes years. We came up with this concept over the summer last year. I'm like, I just had it in my brain. I want to film this starting November. So we had the script written by October, started filming in November. We had it all finished up by May, and now it's released. So I have all my own equipment, which makes it easy. I've got a great producing partner, Diana Mayoko. She helped do Love Gilda for CNN Films, and she did Shattered Hopes, which is on Reels. And, we bounce ideas back and forth. And for a relatively short amount of time that this took to make, especially still coming out of the pandemic and getting the approval through the union because of the strike and getting the interim agreements and all of that together, what we were able to come up with, I think, like you said, multidimensional. Like it's got a lot of elements. I wrote all the music for the film as well. I mean, I started as a film composer. My first professional job was that. So it's so many elements of me, like of my creative passions, getting funneled into a project like this and having it be well received is anything I think any filmmaker can ask for. And I'm so thankful for everybody involved, because I would not have the project I have. It wouldn't be as well made as it is. It wouldn't be as successful, as beautiful as it is without every single person. Even down to Holland Mavers, who did hair and makeup. She was phenomenal. Like every detail was well executed. And again, I'm super proud of it.
It reminds me a lot of, not only do you look like a rock star in there, literally you look like a musician. The film has, and I mean this with all due respect, please, I hope you take this as a strong, highly, I was going to say a compliment that is extremely meaningful, is you give off this vibe of being an actor that I would see on a film derived from a Nicholas Sparks book, because Nicholas Sparks is one of my favorite authors. It has a Nicholas Sparks flair, but you seriously look like someone I would see on Lifetime, on, Netflix. Even the way it's filmed, I'm going to close by saying it just reminds me of something I would see, just is so high end, so well done, of a movie that is inspired by one of his books of Nicholas Sparks.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I remember when The Notebook came out and I'm like, I want that part. I mean, at the time I was maybe 10 years old. I can't play that part at 10 years old, but I always resonated with his writing and with those stories. And that's why I wanted to make, to that point, the romance that, Nicholas Sparks tends to incorporate with all of his stuff. I look around, you see all these different movies that are made about paranormal or about ghosts or spirits. And if it's not a scary movie, it's still got this like eerie, dark, like foreboding, tense. And like having my own, history with different paranormal experiences, I do believe that it's not always scary. I mean, I had a story about getting visited by my grandmother or my grandfather, and it was the most amazing situation to be involved with. So when I was making this, I'm like, I want to make a movie that has a paranormal element that doesn't necessarily, it's not scary. It's something that can be peaceful, and it's supposed to be peaceful, and we're supposed to not be afraid of everything all the time. So it's got that romanticized shot, especially down to the coloring as well. I wanted to use warmer colors. I wanted to use this. There's some scenes in the movie where she goes through, I won't spoil it for anybody, wants to be sure to tune in and watch it, but she's going through what looks like a purgatory. So the colors are a little bit darker. But for the most part, I wanted warm, vivid, beautiful colors, especially when Naomi's character comes in, because she's this light and this beacon to help our lead protagonist, Claire, who's played by Vanessa Gamble. And so I totally see how you would get the Nicholas Sparks vibe, because I do think that likewise, he and his films influenced me in my own filmmaking.
Yeah, it's the vibe is through and through. It's the number one thing, Robert, that came to my mind. Not that I felt that it holds your own signature. However, it's just something about who you are because of your beliefs, because of understanding and your experience with the paranormal, spiritual world and realm. To add, which is not fictitious, because scientists, every religion or religious groups, there has not been one thing that's ever disputed that there is more than just the physical body of a human being out there. And one of the things
Correct.
that I would like to eventually see with you down the road, and one of many films that you will be including me in, because I do believe that you're going to love my performance, is I believe that you should do a film that has Mandy Moore in it.
Okay, it's funny you mentioned that, because she was somebody early on we were thinking about, or I was talking with a couple people, like, she would be great. I mean, I just saw her in This Is Us and A Walk to Remember when I was growing up. Like, if this is the same Mandy Moore I think you're thinking of, I think there's a couple out there, but she does have that same warmth. Yeah, and totally. She was a name that I had picked around with and tried to think about. So I'm on board with that 100%, and I'll star you opposite her, and you guys can have an amazing romantic. It'll be great. I'm already writing it down right now. Let me get out my laptop. We're gonna go.
My instincts are telling me you belong doing a project with her. You want to talk paranormal, intuition, all the above. That is what my heart is telling me. Mandy Moore, Mandy Moore, Mandy Moore. And she will love working with you. Next time we
do an interview, it'll be like, hey, remember that time you told me to get Mandy Moore? By the way, she's going to do an interview next week. She's doing another film, and then we'll get you in on it. It's great. We'll make it happen.
It is your time. I have a feeling. I've got to ask you this. Do you believe it is your time, that things are going to continue to blossom for you? Because I see it and feel it. Do you?
100%. If you had asked me about several years ago, but prior to the pandemic, which seems like the dark ages now, like anything prior to 2020, things were going amazing, and I couldn't have been happier. And then, you hit that pandemic and things just went to a standstill for everybody. And there was a period of time where I'm like, I don't know, can I recover from this? I don't know. You start to get some of that self-doubt. And I started to realize I was defeating myself again, bringing up the topic of fear. It was getting in my head and causing me to think things, and it was not good for my self-esteem and for my own psyche. I'm like, well, why am I going to sit back and wait for someone to open a door for me when I can open the door myself? So I started making projects. We did a mini series on Amazon Prime. We created Heartprints in the Snow, which is Emmy nominated now. Then we created this, and I'm seeing a trajectory, and I'm seeing an upward climb. I got a new agent. We got the new manager. Everything is great. So by me doing this and taking the reins, absolutely. I think this is kind of that rebirth, the post-pandemic rebirth, and things are just going to keep going up because I have a strong work ethic. I value people's time. I value everyone's contribution. And I just want to do whatever I can in my own power to not only see myself succeed, but let everybody else succeed as well. And by doing that, I think it's good energy in the universe to help propel me forward. And I couldn't be more thrilled with the feedback we're getting. And absolutely, I think this is just the beginning.
You had said, quote, "Now is the best time to become a filmmaker. With opportunities at your fingertips, it really feels like the wild, wild west. In the industry, everyone has a chance. You just have to pick up the camera and start, whether it's with an iPhone or learning to use DSLR or cinema cameras." Do you still feel that way and believe that?
100%. I mean, sure, 15 years ago, we couldn't really do much on a flip phone, right? You could maybe do 2 photos and maybe 30 seconds of a video. Nowadays, any iPhone has 4K capability. It doesn't have to be a feature film. When I first started, I'm like, I want to make this short little 5-minute web series thing. And I shot it on an iPhone. I'm like, okay, well, this is baseline. And it still looked pretty decent. And you've got a lot of people now making YouTube skits, and you've got Vimeo skits and Amazon Prime. The minimum runtime they take is 5 minutes. Anybody can just pick up something and be creative. And I never went to film school, right? I had actors conservatory, came out here, the usual, well, that's great, but you have to have film training, you've got to get this and that. I'm like, well, maybe by working some camera stuff, it's going to benefit my acting because then I know what it's going to look like behind the camera. I know the mechanics, and just slowly building up that knowledge. Like, there's no reason why I can't create my own stuff. I mean, I could easily have not made this film and just told my agent and manager, keep submitting me. Maybe I'll get a couple co-stars, some small things, or in 6 months' time, I can star myself in a feature film opposite a Primetime Emmy nominee and a Golden Globe nominee, Critics' Choice Award winner. That's better than any 1 or 2 lines in a TV show that people scrape by to get. So, yeah, I firmly believe that everyone's career is in their own hands. Sometimes it can be tough. Sometimes it's challenging. And again, back to the central theme of this movie, it scares people. What people aren't comfortable with scares them. But I believe if it scares you, you should try it. And then you're going to get better at it. And then you have that self-esteem and that self-awareness of, I can do this. I control my career. I don't have to wait for someone to give me the green light. I don't need a gatekeeper. I'm going to do it myself. That makes me like the Lucille Ball of 2023, or you just do it yourself. Learn. Your first couple projects aren't necessarily going to be the most amazing Academy Award nominated things. Who knows? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But you got to start somewhere. Because I see now, especially with the strike, a lot more focus on independent. So people are going to have to start really creating their own media and their own art to survive. And I think I'm already ahead of the curve with that. And I'm down to help people if they have questions, because I want to see everyone succeed. And we can. We just have to bite the bullet, so to speak, pick up a camera and just start shooting.
I agree with you 1,000,000,000%. And Jesse, we've got Robert Michael. He's a producer and actor. We're talking about his new film, Oblivious. I appreciate the question. Highlighting a lot of points. Robert just talked about a little bit of sharing about the pandemic. We touched upon most recently what it means to just pick up the camera, go out there, be creative. Also, to add to that is, and I want to get to this part/point is, okay, so we touched on what you can do, where we've come from, what you had said, Robert, compared to the days of when we had the flip phone. This is what you said. Our Emmy-nominated documentary was created with under $1,000 in budget, and our current film has a micro budget as well, though well above $1,000. If you work within your means, you can create your own opportunities instead of waiting for the gatekeepers to grant your admission. No excuses, just say yes and start creating. What I greatly appreciate about that, Robert, is when we think about independent film festivals, there are film festivals that have been created that have won awards with no budget, $500 budget, as you had stated, $1,000, and films. Great, exceptional. It is so impressive. Films that were made in 24 hours, done, ready, go.
Yeah. They have what's that festival, the 24-hour film festival. Someone who's actually in our movie, Jennifer Ingram, she was also in The Love Witch. That's kind of how she got, I think, most of her notoriety. This beautiful 35 millimeter film. She did the 24-hour film festival, cranked it out. It was done. And now it's like, if you can do that in 24 hours, like, I think we're fed to believe the traditional scope of how you make a movie. I think there's a romanticized idea of you have to have like 500 people. You have to have a 6-month shooting schedule. You have to have all of these bells and whistles. But right now, especially considering people, the economy is tough for a lot of people. And people don't have $2.5 million to shoot a lifetime film. And even some networks aren't necessarily having the money to put up a ton of money for things unless you're Christopher Nolan, Steven Spielberg, Quentin Tarantino, so on and so forth. So if you know what your means are, even if it's on your iPhone, if you have good lighting, anything can look cinematic. It's just learning how to do it within your budget.
Great question by Jalen, and I was going to go there next. Loving. Thank you, everyone, that's tuning in, that's joining us today live on air with Stephen Quilco on Power 98.5 Satellite Radio. Just a quick plug-in. We have got with us today Robert Michael. He's a producer, actor. We're talking about his latest film, Oblivious. Big shout out to Marcos Papadatos. Thank you very much for putting this together, highlighting a lot of different points, topics of Robert's journey, his experience, having had worked with, and I'm going to go down a list, Naomi Grossman, Vanessa Lauren Gamble, Daniel Hall, and Nikki Blonsky. We've got to go here, and Jalen brought up a good point, and this is going to be the next area, and you started to touch upon it just slightly, Robert. The Writers Guild America strike. What are your thoughts? What is your projection? Is there going to be resolved before the end of the year? Is there anything you can share with us about it?
So when it comes to the strike, first and foremost, I'm all for solidarity. I think what people are fighting for and what they're demanding, if people really look at like some of the fine print, it's a very small fraction of what profits these big studios are making. So if we are the ones creating, like I'll put it in this term. I just created this film and I made sure everybody was paid the SAG interim rates, made sure everybody was paid fairly. And I made a feature film and I didn't, pocket all the money for myself. I believed in everyone's contribution and they all got paid, treated fairly. So when you have these big studios and you have writers that literally bring the content to them, they influence the casting decisions. They are in on decision making, and you're going to scrape by and not pay them their share. I think that's creative theft. And I think we were seeing so much, even since I was in high school, arts programs not being taken seriously, or, oh, it's just a fun job. We shouldn't take it as a serious job. But especially if the pandemic taught us anything, what did people do? They tuned into entertainment. They relied on that. And that comes from the writers, that comes from the actors, it comes from directors, it comes from everybody on the crew. So with this new emergence of AI and all of these outdated contractual terms, we needed a new deal. And when they decided to not come to the table and give something fair, absolutely we needed to strike. Because at the end of the day, we're the ones that create. They're the ones that will give the green light. I don't see any big CEO creating on the cutting room floor. They're not doing any of that. So treat those people fairly, give them a good wage. And if you're making millions and billions on content, why aren't they getting paid their fair share? So I'm 100%, I'm in solidarity with that, especially since the SAG-AFTRA, our own union, is striking. And we're still on strike. I mean, the news now with the WGA is they have reached a tentative agreement. The WGA is calling it an amazing deal. They still have to do some final votes, I believe, on the East Coast. But my hope for them is they're back to work as soon as maybe a week. I think they were talking hopefully by the end of next week. However, when we start seeing progress in the industry as far as everyone returning, it's tricky because the writers will come back. You're going to see more of your nighttime shows returning, like the Drew Barrymore show or any of those late night talk shows. Those will be fine because they have the writers again. You're going to see shows kind of like The View that, they can still employ their writers. But as far as scripted content, non-reality based, I think it's going to take a little bit of time. Hopefully with the Actors Guild, we are now resuming talks. I'm not sure if anybody knows this unless you're in the union, so it might be exclusive to some people. October 2nd is when we are going back to the negotiating table with the AMPTP, which if people aren't familiar, the Alliance of Motion Picture Television Producers. We are going back to the negotiating table with them. I think now that the writers are taken care of and hopefully that deal is going to be great and signed, the focus is now on us. So I'm anticipating, and I hope I'm right, give it a week or two, the strikes will be over. Content will already be being written right now, so that possibly by the end of fall, we could see some return of some news, but it takes a long time to make television shows and editing and post. So I think by the first of the year, I think things will start to level out. But right now, good progress is being made. I want everyone, if you're not well versed on it, read up on the strikes, read up on the deals, support your local performers and your SAG members, your WGA. And it's bigger than just us. I mean, the emergence of AI is going to affect everybody's job. And this is only the beginning. So we have to take a stand now, not just for entertainment, but for when it comes for a blue collar job or a white collar job or any other job out there. I mean, even retail. Like it's something that we have to say no. It should be a tool. It should not be a replacement. And that's why we're striking.
Two areas I would like to talk upon and get your thoughts on is one, and this is by George R.R. Martin. It says George R.R. Martin. This is by PC Gamer. CBR also reported on it. And other authors say OpenAI stole their books to train ChatGPT. We are here to fight. CBR says George R.R. Martin sues OpenAI and ChatGPT for generating unofficial Game of Thrones prequel. Are we far from near having resolve when this, to me, seems like years upon years of litigation?
It's very tricky because kind of like what I had said earlier about creating content is like the Wild West right now. AI is this new frontier, and a lot of us are still trying to grapple with how we utilize it. And we are progressing so quickly that we're not able to keep up with the legislation. And especially right now, the way that, politics are in our country, it's very divided and it's very distracted. So creating universal legislation to help tame this is going to be difficult. But if people aren't familiar with like a copyright law or contractual stuff like that, like if I wanted to make a movie and I wanted to base something, let's say there's a piece of music, or let's say there's like when I did Heart Prince, I wanted to include something from like Snow Dogs, like just to show other movies that have been made. With a fair use law, I could only use 5 seconds of something, or it had to be a very minimal mention. Meanwhile, there's now AI that you put in a couple words and they'll take someone's entire works. You could do all the Harry Potter books. You could do all of the Game of Thrones books. You could do all the Hunger Games books and make it into a Pirates of the Caribbean movie and just put it out there. But because it's computer generated and not human generated, it's hard to put anybody at fault for copyright. So unfortunately, I don't see in the immediate future how that is going to be handled. I know that it's something that why we're striking, if we say no, people will listen. But it's very tricky because when I release this movie, somebody could go on and just put in, I want a movie like this one, make it sound like this one, and I want you to create a voice that sounds like Morgan Freeman, but because it's not really Morgan Freeman, it's not under the copyright law. So I think it's a case that might make its way up to like a Supreme Court situation where they have to deem how we do this without there being any actual legislation. But I think the more people say no, the more people raise alarm bells. Hopefully we'll start seeing more regulation, but it takes everybody to band together. If it's only a couple people, because you see George R.R. Martin, you have somebody who's not familiar with entertainment say, oh, he's got tons of money, he's fine, I don't care, it doesn't affect me. That one goes by. Then it happens again, and it happens again, and it happens again, and it happens again. And sooner or later it comes for them, and they're like, well, wait a minute, how did it get so out of hand? We have to nip it in the bud as soon as we see it. So I know governments are looking at it. I know that our entertainment industry, especially with these strikes and our resolutions, they're looking at it. So I do think we're on the right path. But I don't know in my mind when the exact end date or when something will happen that will nick that in the butt. I think it's just going to take enough people sounding off alarm bells and putting restrictions on this type of technology to where it won't be allowed to do that. Or if a local court or Supreme Court deems that is a violation, then that's an easy way to nip it. But we just have to take a stand. It's all very new and it's a little terrifying, to be honest. But I don't believe that, again, we should let fear run us. We should just find solutions.
Exactly. And one of the things it's going to be very interesting to sort out what sort of resolve there's going to be when we think about, using the CGI. I was going through the channels last night and came across the movie, the most recent one, Flash. And I was there watching it and going back to remembering how Christopher Reeve's face was used. And I'm there watching, I'm like, how is this going to work? Obviously, it doesn't look real, but I'm thinking to myself, when we think of respecting those who created such a strong, committed, and monumental legacy in the film and television industry, and then knowing that, their memories are respected, throughout generations in a very different way, and what we know and what we learn, it's going to be quite interesting. Even when we think about you, Robert, and one day what happens if someone decides to generate your face and incorporate that in some sort of saga or film, where it's not just about the compensation, it's about the person is not alive any longer. Where do they have a voice? And that's something I find very disturbing, is like, you just took something of someone and they are not here to speak for themselves.
I think a big part of this too is there's been a big shift, I think, in obviously the trajectory of where our industry is going, but also a lack of understanding of where we came from, and a lack of understanding of the power players that may have brought us to where we are now. And when you don't have the respect or the knowledge of where we were, you're not necessarily going to respect that person's image or respect the art form. It's right now all about, how do we get the biggest profit? How can we compete with all of these different streaming sites? I mean, I remember when it was still cable and they say, oh, we've came out with Netflix. Now you can cancel your cable and just have Netflix. We no one needs cable anymore. And now you pay for all these subscription services and you're essentially paying for cable. So how do you stay in competition, not only with cable, but also all of these streaming sites and all of this and all of that? So it's all about, unfortunately, monetization and money. And when that is your focus, you tend to be desensitized to someone's likeness or someone's, historical significance. Like there was part of our negotiations with the AMPTP is they wanted to be able to put in over 50 years of film history to help them generate content. So you could see a likeness of Marilyn Monroe pop up on a screen. And it's like, first of all, that seems very strange to me. There's plenty of great actors as there is right now, but also, where is the respect for what they've created? Like, I think it cheapens what they've accomplished. So it's very disrespectful. And I hope we have enough time still to kind of nip that in the butt, because that can't become our norm.
I agree. I want to thank you for being with us today. And I would like to find out, what are your closing thoughts, not only about Oblivious, but about what you recommend for people moving forward to combat fear, skepticism, to get through that struggle?
As someone that has gone through it myself, and sometimes felt that, you think one negative thought and it leads to another and it turns into a paranoia, like, it's no way to live your life, and we have one life to live. And if you're spending your day lost in negative thought, which I think the majority of the world right now is, we're not living to our truest potential. We're not living to our happiest, and we're allowing ourselves to be sucked into a society that just almost desensitizes us to everything. That's why the world is the way it is right now. So my takeaway is, if you're afraid of something, as serious as it is, you have to allow yourself to feel those emotions, because we have them for a reason. If you deny your emotion, it's not healthy. But you also have to remember, I heard this quote before: feelings are not fact. Your feeling does not always mean what is actually happening in a situation. If you're afraid of something, maybe think, why am I afraid? Is this viable for me? Like, can I do anything about it? And if you can, focus on that. But we can't allow fear to ruin our lives, because when you're afraid of something, you lose the ability to see the hope and the beauty and the love. And I've worked myself through that. And in the case of Oblivious, something like a terminal illness is terrifying. It's heart-wrenching. But Naomi Grossman, who plays Willow, she has a conversation with our lead, and she's like, You know you can't control it. You know you cannot change it. So why are you choosing to live in fear when you should be spending your days looking for the beauty and looking for the love and the light? Which way do you want to go? Because one way is a path to madness, and one way is at least a path to acceptance and love and support. And whether it's a terminal illness or whether it's someone you've lost your job, the economy is tough, or especially with the strikes, it's easy to look at so much negativity, but we always have this element of power, and we can have some say in our own lives and how we react to that. So I just want people to remember to trust your feelings, but don't let them dominate your life.
Great question that came in from Jacob. Is Oblivious on Netflix?
It is not on Netflix. It's on Amazon Prime right now. We are working out a couple additional distribution options, which should come by January. And of course, I'll update everybody on that. But you can find it on Amazon Prime. You can find it whether you're in the United Kingdom or if you're in the United States.
Do we have any other questions? Are we good? No shout outs? Okay. James Hickey, thank you very much for joining us today. And just to follow up with everyone, if you're just joining us now or joining us towards the end of this conversation, we've got actor, producer, director Robert Michael with us today talking about and sharing his new film, Oblivious. Definitely head on over to Amazon Prime. They can watch it, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Amazon Prime. And thank you for the love and support to everyone that's been with us today. Robert, any shout outs, anything else you would like to add before we move forward in today?
My only shout out would be, I want to make sure that, my producers, we have Hayden Connor Ashworth, Diana Mayoko, we have Andy O'Reilly, who runs Muskegon Channel, Nicole Gordon-Levitt. Wow, my Midwestern does not let me pronounce things well sometimes. It runs off. Shane Ryan, Chris Luquis, and Sean Jones, and everybody affiliated with my production. I would not have the show I have without each and every one of them. And I really want to make sure that if people like this film, that they credit those people as well. Because though I had a lot of hats to wear, my show is only as successful as the people that were a part of it. So I just want to give a shout out to everybody in the film, because without them, we would not have what we have now.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you. And remember, your next project must include that. Thank you. I was going to put Mandy Moore first. We need Mandy Moore. And yes, thank you. Robert said it best, and I did not have to remind him because I'm not worried about having to remind him. I'm going to be there with you, Mandy.
Yep, we've got it already in the books. Little did you know, the script's already been written this whole time. I'm halfway through.
I love it. I seriously do. Thank you. And I can play any role: doctor, professor, psychologist. Look, hold on for a moment. Hold on. Marcos, you called it the most perfect time. We've got Robert live on Power 98.5. Wow.
It's Marcos. Hey, man.
How are you?
The legend himself, the power journalist. How are you doing?
Good.
Good to hear from you, man. I hope everything's good out where you're at.
Thank you. It's New York and flooding as we speak. It's flooding and heavy rain.
Oh, really?
It's wow. Because it's pretty overcast here in LA. I'm secretly hoping it rains because that's when I feel I'm most creative. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, but
nice.
You can give some of that rain to us. I don't know how you'd get it here, but I'd love some.
Thank you.
Well, Marcos, I had to have you join in. We're closing out on the interview. I gave 2 shout outs, and Robert is going to include me into his next film, and he's taking my suggestion to have Mandy Moore be opposite of me.
That's
We're going to make it happen.
That's cool.
Marcos, we're going to be closing out the interview soon. You want me to call you back?
Oh, good. I just want to say hi and what's up, and take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Marcos, I do want to say I appreciate all your support, and you and Digital Journal have been fantastic. You always do great articles, and we're always super happy to have you on board with all of our projects. So people definitely need to make sure they're checking you out as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very kind.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. That was perfect timing.
Right?
That
Right at
was
the tail end.
perfect timing.
It's like a script. You think you're over, like, oh, nope, something's coming back.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Power of three. There you go.
There we go, right? The power of threes.
I am so looking forward to talking to you again soon. And speaking of power of three, I've got to add this. This just came to me. I am not fond of the new Charm series, but I would like to say if there is a way for you to do something that is in alignment to who you are as an actor, producer, and director, Robert, I would like to see if whether it's a short film, something of Charmed. I love the original show. It was my favorite. I knew it was going to be the best. Holly Marie Combs, Alyssa Milano, and Shannon Doherty. I would like to, since you're in tune with this and having experience of the spiritual world and things that are unseen and what we have that's part of our life and universe, would you ever consider doing something like that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think your best work is derived by things you're interested in and that you have maybe a passion for or just an inclination to. So absolutely. I would love to do that. I mean, I've always wanted to be a part of American Horror Story, especially Coven, and those were just a bunch of, supernatural witches. Like, I want to be one.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be the only male one, but I'd want to be one. Like, sure, let's do it. Sounds like a good time. So we'll have Mandy Moore. We'll do a Charmed type show. We'll sell it to the WB when the strike is over.
Uh-huh.
Okay, good. I'm just one more note to put down. We got it.
So much can look forward to. Literally so much. I greatly appreciate you. I've got your IMDb right here in front of me and your photo, and you're a great guy. You're from Flint, Michigan. Midwesterns, you are the best. You kind of remind me of Canadians, but as an East Coast person, true and through, I appreciate someone, especially someone like you from Michigan. I always meet the greatest people from the Midwest.
I always like to say Midwest is best. And I purposely didn't give you the Fargo, the native tongue. I tried to do it a little different this time. But those people are the best people. And, it's always hard, especially in today's world, to find those genuine, good-hearted, good-natured, welcoming people. And where I grew up, even though Flint has kind of a tough reputation, there's so much love there, and there's so many good people there that just want to have a good life and they want to support other people. So, and I have the same feeling with East Coast people as well. I mean, clearly you're one of those people too, and I'm so glad to have you in my corner, and I'll be in your corner. I just like to support genuine people. So I 100% agree with what you said. You
call me anytime, honestly.
Absolutely. I'll call you in 5 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
10 minutes. We'll call. You'll be like, we're gonna get rid of this dude. He's calling me way too much.
Not
What's
at all.
What's his problem?
Not
I'm
at all.
I'm gonna get 5 burner phones. Just keep calling you. Great.
That warms my heart, honestly. Because we'll have good conversation, and we'll both be interested in what's happening in each other's lives. I mean, I'm going to be honest. Absolutely. I don't get asked often, to know more about me unless I'm getting interviewed. I'm in a chair to where this is what I facilitate. Just like for you're facilitating jobs for other actors and, doing the things that we're doing.
Well, it's one of my favorite things to do. Like I have people that I know that are so good, and they just, because of a gatekeeper or, restrictions, like, I just need that first role. I need this first thing. Roz Stanley, she plays Donna in my show, and she needed her first role. She did it for Girl Chill. She won Best Lead Actress in a Comedy Series at the International Academy of Web TV Awards, and it helped her get even, I think, a better agent. And now she had another offer for something. You champion your friends and people that are good natured. Like, that's what makes me happy. It's a small industry, but at the same time, it's very large, and it's hard to find your way. So if we can all just help each other get to the top, I think the world will be a better place. Absolutely.
Absolutely. You hit the box of nails through the board, but one hammer swing on that one, Robert.
Well, it's true. I mean, we're all out for the same thing. There's no reason why we all can't have our own slice of the pie. If I got to bake another pizza, I will.
There you go.
I'll make sure it happens for everybody.
I'll be there as your sous chef.
Sounds good. We'll add some Parmesan, some pepperoni. I mean, I'm not
Mushrooms,
that
olives.
adventurous with my pizza. Oh, I wish I could do that. I've never been a mushroom on a pizza guy.
Really?
But I'll try it. It's probably better New York style.
What about olives? Green peppers?
I can do green peppers.
Okay.
I'll compromise on a green pepper.
Okay. Game. Or we can do half and half. Simple.
There we go.
Half and half.
Sure.
Well,
But I'm always open to trying new things. So I'll try it. I'll try it.
I'm excited for it, and we'll do. I'm taking you up on it. You should know, anyone that's from New Jersey, New York area, we say what we do, and
I'm the same way, even if I'm from Michigan. You know, word is everything.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Robert, for all of this.
Thank you. Appreciate being on. I appreciate your time, and thank you for letting me share my project with everybody.
It's an honor. Thank you to everyone for joining us today, live on air with Stephen Cuoco on Power 98.5 Satellite Radio. Thank you for the listeners, for the questions, the love and support today. We've got Robert Michael, actor, producer, director. Head on over to Amazon Prime to watch and support his new film, Oblivious. And do we have anything else we should share and highlight at all? I know I interviewed Modestus Buskauskas. Please forgive me, Modestos. I had it perfect yesterday. Bukauskas. Thank you. Professional MMA and UFC fighter. We've known each other for quite a few months. I saw his live fight at the UFC Apex here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Finally was able to get him on. We had that live yesterday. Check that out. Check the schedule. Also, if you don't want to wait to listen to it on Power 98.5, even though we always love to have you home here first, it is available on Amazon Music, Amazon Audible, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. All great things. Remember, actor Robert Michael, Google him. Check out his IMDb. He's all over. And once again, Amazon Prime, Oblivious, a new film by Robert Michael, also starring Naomi Grossman, Vanessa Lauren Gamble, Daniel Hall, and Nikki Blonsky. Have a great day, everyone. And as you know, my closing thought for this show and this episode would be, don't underestimate yourself when you haven't even given yourself the chance, the belief, and the opportunity to know exactly what you are capable of doing. Have a great day, everyone.
Friend us on your socials and let's connect.